Hello, hello. You are in the least. Oh, let me invite my friend. Let me invite Chris before I start chatting at you. So we are in my bedroom right now. And there's a reason that we are in my bedroom. We are in my bedroom, but oh, here he goes. Hey, Chris, I want to bring you on camera. So I'm going to ask to bring you on. Hello.
Well, good morning.
Hello. Oh, we have an echo.
Uh-oh.
Do you have a headset?
Do you have a headset by any chance?
Girl, I've got everything. Hang on. We're in the boudoir, I see.
Yes, there's a reason that we're
There's
here.
a reason that we're here.
It is the least put
It is
together
the
room
least
in my
put
house
together room in my house
and that's why
we're standing here.
Girl, are we having an intervention?
We're having an intervention.
We're having an intervention.
Well, I'm excited. You're getting to see all sorts of mess in my house, because my house is a little bit rough and ready just now.
Hey, Jamie. Hey, Bridget. How are you
There
doing?
we go.
Oh, that's so much better. Hey, Ashley. So, right now, so I just basically, a lot of people are talking about Marie Kondo. So she basically is like, get rid of everything that doesn't spark joy. So I went through my whole house. I pulled everything out of the cabinets, out of the drawers, and redid the whole thing. But as I was doing that, I also stole things out of other rooms, and this was the main room that I stole stuff out of, so that it's looking a little bare. Needing a little
Okay,
help.
so there's like a wall in a corner that is a little unfinished. But before we go on,
look at this. This is so good. I actually don't mind the blank wall. But anyway, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes empty space is the greatest gift and greatest treasure. So, first of all, I just got to check with you, Stephanie. When you say you stole things from other rooms, there are things you owned, right?
Yes, they are. I own the things that I just took things that had previously sort of belonged to my room, and I moved them to other rooms in the house. So, but I did own them, or they own me.
Well, how exciting is that? Sometimes an empty space is an invitation for something to turn up.
Yes. So I did a little bit of searching, and
Yep.
I looked in some places that I'm familiar with looking, and I looked a little bit online, and I started to get this sense of it being work instead of it being play. And that is the moment that I knew to talk with you, because I've seen you create spaces, and one of the gifts that I've seen you bring to the things that you create is a sense of ease and a sense of fun and a sense of, oh yeah, well, it's just a different sense. So I wanted to know a little bit about that. And
Did you ever see the movie Anti-Mame?
You know what? I didn't.
We're going to turn this live off right now so you can go watch it. No, but for those who haven't seen it, there's a couple versions. You got to see the original 1950s version, I think, with Rosalind Russell. And it's about a lady who is a New York socialite, and she lives this fabulous life full of intellectuals. And in the movie, every time you visit her house, it's a new thing. Like,
Yeah.
It's all Chinese, and there's a gong, and there's dragons, and there's smoke billowing from their nostrils. Or it's like really 50s mod and modular, and there's levers you pull and seats go up and down. Anyway, but she did it from this.
This is the house that play.
There was always play, always exploration, always extrapolation, and always creation in it, and never like stiff and stagnant. I grew up in a house where the furniture that I grew up with was like, I remember the same damn sofa and the same damn coffee table for 15, 25 years. We had that same stuff. And if the table leg broke, you grab some duct tape and you put it back on, This is the kind of thing. But for most of us, that's like hell, that sense of no change, no adjustment, no exploration, no creativity.
Yeah.
Because girl, one thing you got, it's creativity.
Thank you.
But the thing you were talking about when we started this was that idea that it became work.
And that was the second that I stopped, because I was like, the rest of the house, the whole thing was this easy whirlwind of fun where I would move one thing and then everything in the else in the house would have to move to adjust to that. And it all just kept getting greater until now.
Yeah.
Until now.
now. So what I would do with that, because this happens quite often, is wait. And I know to most people like you and I, wait is like red rag to a bull. But what I would do if I was you is look at the space you're decorating, or look at the space in your life where there's something that you would like to be there, and ask yourself, okay, if I could do anything with this space, if I could really play and put whatever I wanted there, what would it be? And also, what is the space asking for?
Yeah.
Because
so for me, that's an easy question to ask, but I realized that that's not actually the first thing that people think about, and that may be new for some people. What are you even talking about? What is this space asking for?
well, houses, apartments, spaces, everything and every molecule in the world has consciousness.
And what do you mean?
So,
what do you mean by that?
okay, well, if you break everything in the world down to a molecular level, we are all molecules, we are all energy, we are all space, and we are all consciousness. Pretty freaky, right? And science is now telling us that if any molecule in the world, if we just so much as look at it, it begins to shift and change and alter and mutate. And looking at a molecule is the same thing as acknowledging something, acknowledging the consciousness in something, be it a painting, be it a pair of shoes, whatever, starts to change them. Have you ever noticed with things in your life that you really like, they become more beautiful for appreciation of them?
I have a ring that I got from Jen Tootin, and I tried it on, and I just asked. It was a little cloudy whenever I first put it on. The stone was just a little bit cloudy. It was still beautiful. The color was beautiful. Hey, Simon. And I just asked her if I could wear it for the day. Can I wear this? Can I try this on? And she's like, yeah, sure. Well, I just started appreciating it and enjoying it. And by the end of the day, do you know that the stone was clear? And I still have that ring, by the way. But the stone changed.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, because it was waiting for you. Okay, so get this.
Yeah.
Stones. Yeah, go ahead. You go ahead.
Well, no, so you mentioned something waiting. Oh, you were talking about a painting. So there was another recording. There was a SoundCloud that you did, and you talked in that SoundCloud about a painting that when you first saw it, you asked the guy, he had, I think, $3,000 on the painting, and you said, hey, would you be willing to accept $700 for it, or $800 for it, whatever it was? And he was definitely not willing to accept it, and he was a little bit offended. Well, you ended up getting that painting for $700. And this is something that you mentioned about it, that painting wanted to own you. Will you talk a little bit more about that, or is that too much of a sidetrack from where we're going with consciousness?
No, that's okay. That's totally it. See, things, because, well, first of all, just like the ring, things own you and they come to your life because they want you. But do you want to see the painting?
Yes!
Okay, I'm going to have to get down on the floor here because it's hung a bit low. but I've got a wee stool, and we can I'll just shift myself, and I'll adjust my wee selfie thingamajigger here. So it is.
Oh, hello.
Here. Yeah. So yeah, just to. I'm not very good at the angles here on the camera.
I think it goes backwards. Oh, this is cool.
Yeah. So that's a scene of a harbor in Sydney, and it's an oil painting by one of Australia's tonalist painters, you'd call him. And I just saw it and I went, oh, that.
Yeah.
Which, when you have that, oh, that, it's partially you, but it's also quite often the thing going, you.
Oh, that was this. Wait, this couch.
Yeah. Well, dogs do it too.
And that dog.
Yeah. He went, you, lady.
Both of them. Yeah, that couch and that dog.
We're coming home with you.
Yeah, exactly.
There's this thing that occurs when something shows up in your life that matches an ask that you've made. So at somewhere along the line, you've asked for something in your life and asked for something to show up. And when it starts to show up, there's this like sparkly electricity of it going, hi. Yeah, I'm that thing. And as you said in the story, the guy who had it here in Brisbane for sale had a price on it that I was just like, yeah, I don't know. And I made him an offer on what it was worth. And when he said no, I was willing to go, okay, fine, and walk away.
Yeah.
And not have it. And then, as the story goes, for those who didn't hear it, I was looking at an auction catalog in Melbourne, down in the south of Australia, and there was the painting and all the rest of this guy's stuff. And so I went and bid on it at the auction, and I got it for exactly the price that I said I would pay for it. And in the meantime, he'd shipped it down to Sydney or Melbourne, and he'd paid the auctioneers, and he'd done this and that. And it's, kind of unfortunate on his part that he could have just done it at the time, but oh well. But the funny thing is, I was willing to let it go, and it waited for me, and it created a path for it to come into my life. Do you want to see another fun example?
Yes.
Because it's not actually all necessarily just about rings and paintings and treasure from that sense of things. I feel like I'm Mr. Rogers at the moment, walking you around my house in my cardigan and my slippers. But the other day,
it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
A beautiful day to be neighbors. The other day, my husband and I were looking at things around our house here that we wanted to change or upgrade or whatever. And we both love our coffee. Mm-hmm. And we had one of those espresso pod machines, that you put the little pod in or whatever. And we were like, this really isn't fun for us anymore. We kind of feel like we're destroying the planet one coffee at a time for fairly mediocre coffee. So I went to the department store, and I saw the machine that I really wanted, and it spoke 3 languages, and it ground the beans for you, and it as you poured the water in, it had a filtration system so that the water it uses to make your coffee is clean and beautiful, and it was a sight to behold. But the price tag on the coffee machine was $4,000, and I went, So here's a little coffee machine. Again, I'm not the greatest at this, but there he is.
Oh, that thing
I left the department store. It is fancy. Like I say, it speaks 3 languages. I left the department store, and I was just fiddling around online at an antique and art auction site. Okay. And what did I see but an auction for an electronics store that had some water damage in their shop, and they were having an insurance auction. Well, there was the same damn machine. But instead of $4,000, it was $400.
No, what?
So I was laughing because I was looking at it going, God, I love how my life works, how easy it can be when you're just like, yeah, okay, so what would it take for that to show up? No, that's probably not the one. It's a little more than I want to pay. But not from a place of being cheap. I just had this awareness that there was an easier way or another way.
Well, so what is the difference between, because I know that there have been times in my life when, for instance, in my last house, as I was creating it and designing stuff for it, one of the things that I did was I went through all these different magazines and I cut out colors and textures and I cut out things that hit that yes, that were like, oh yeah, that. Well, then I took it so I could take it, where I went to see if I could find stuff like it. Well, I lost all of those sheets. Like I tore them all out and then I lost them all. Well, 2 years after I designed the whole stinking place, I find all of those sheets. And well, guess what? I'd gotten everything that I had torn out, except for I had gotten it for way better prices than had been listed, or I got it from different design. Anyway, it all worked out so beautifully in a way that I didn't really expect. So what is that? There's that, and then there is doing it from cheap. And how do you notice when you're doing one or the other and shift it? Or what happens when you do it from cheap instead of fun?
Yeah. Well, it's a bit like what you said when we started. When it becomes work and it becomes a job and it becomes not really any fun, versus when you're doing it from this sense of, play. And you're just having a great time doing it with whatever it is you're buying or whatever it is you're finding. When it becomes a necessity or there's a need in your world around whatever it is you're trying to find, it's it's a problem. Or
so what happens with that need? Because that energy of need does something really interesting. Like, what if I catch myself in that need moment? I happen to have caught myself and just went, well, this isn't fun right now, so I'm going to do something different.
Yeah.
What are your choices when you hit that, this isn't fun anymore?
Stop and do something else.
Just look in a different direction. Just go do something.
Look in a different direction and go meh, or you can go okay, or you look at it and go all right, this stopped being fun. What do I need to change here? And one question I always ask myself is, what point of view am I using to turn this into work?
Now that question, I get that we could use that for anything that we're up to, like living, work itself. What point of view am I using to make this work?
And what point am I using to make this not work?
It's funny because the first question, what point of view am I using to make this work, is twofold, because you are both asking, what am I using to make this feel like work, and what am I using that is actually making this work?
Right. Kind of I know. And that's and it works in the other direction as well, but you've got to look at what your paradigm is, or your point of view, or your definitions around things. Like some people have defined that to have things show up in their life, or to have a great life, or to have an easy life where things just occur for you, it takes work, it takes commitment, it takes effort. And that's how they create. I'm willing to have a different life where things are easy, where I go, $4,000 for that seems like not that much fun. Never mind. Oh, there's one for 20% of the price. I think I'll have that one instead.
I love this because that was one of the things that I heard when in the painting story. So if you guys haven't heard that, there's a SoundCloud clip floating out there somewhere that's talking about this very thing. There's the tone of voice that you use when you're telling the story. You go, oh, $4,000. Oh. And then you can feel the shift. I don't really want to pay the $4,000 for it just from choice. what does that require? What does that require? Just the willingness to lose, the willingness to know, to trust the universe? How can we cultivate that? What is that?
You can have it all if you're willing to lose it all.
Okay. Say more, my friends. Say more, my friends.
Well, it's similar to the conversation we were having around need.
Okay.
If you need something in your life, there's this force and pressure, and there's this point of view about it having to be there. And if it isn't there, things are out of place and they're wrong. But if you have no point of view, and you can have it or you can not have it, there is choice there, and there's freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have that freedom and no resistance in your world, there's nothing stopping things showing up in your life, because your point of view and your need of something is what creates resistance to it being there.
Well, so this is so weird. So need, the very thing that you think that somehow is going to create what you want in your life, right? Like, well, I need it, so it must show up, is actually the thing that keeps it from showing up, or keeps it from showing up easily.
Yeah.
How do you
So
get rid
here's
of,
an
how do you get rid
example.
of need? Oh, okay.
Well,
I like an example.
So I'll show you how you get rid of need.
Okay.
So I found the most exquisite piece of treasure for my darling husband, who is a gift and a joy in my life, and he's a treasure that I found. Sorry, someone's trying to ring me. But I went, well, first off, quick story on how I found him. I went, you know what? I think I'd like somebody in my life that is fun for me and is easy. I'm really kind of tired of falling in love with people that aren't very nice. And I left it at that.
Oh, snap.
And I went, okay, so what do I actually want? And the words that I came up with were that I would like to meet and have in my life the Oscar Wildes of my generation.
What did you mean by that? I get that has an energy to it.
Well, Oscar Wilde was a bon vivant, and he was an intellectual, and he was an artist, and he bucked conventional norms and was willing to say that which was ridiculous and outrageous and controversial. And to him, beauty and art were a priority. So when I just asked for it and let go of my point of view of how it would show up and what it would look like, it showed up. So with the thing about need that we're talking about. So I bought this piece of treasure for my husband that I found in an auction in Michigan. And it was a plate that they described as a good plate by the Worcester factory. Mm-hmm. And I looked at it and I went, oh, that's better than a good plate. This was a plate made in 1790.
Oh.
They made one service of these sets of plates that were, and 170 pounds.
One service?
290 pieces, one service. 170 pounds was paid for the service at the time, which would equate to today about $150,000. It was made for a gentleman who was the Duke of Clarence. Now, that Duke of Clarence was son of King George III, and he went on to be King William IV.
No!
That good plate that they had not identified properly.
Yeah.
They usually are worth about $10,000 each. Sorry, I'm getting a text here correcting me. It was the Duke of Gloucester, not the Duke of Clarence. Oh. I'm remiss in my details.
Glad we got our facts straight.
That plate, yeah, that plate is worth about $10,000, and I paid a small fraction. But the need thing here is I was getting rather impatient for it to arrive in the courier. And the tracking was saying one thing, and it was already late, and it wasn't occurring, and it wasn't occurring. And I was calling the post office and doing this, and I was getting a little bit needy of it showing up.
Okay.
Like it wasn't pretty, actually. It was kind of gross. And as soon as I went, fine, whatever, it'll turn up when it turns up, if it turns up. Because the last thing the post office said was, well, if it's not there in 3 to 4 weeks, give us a call. And I'm like, 3 to 4 weeks? Are you for real? So that day that I went, well, it'll show up when it shows up. I walked out the door and went and did some errands and came back. And there at the foot of the door when I arrived was the little post clip or notice saying, you missed a package. So when we get off this call, I'm going to go to the post office and pick it up.
Oh, that's now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so exciting. I wish we were getting to see it.
I know. Well, look, I have treasure showing up in my life every day. And one of the reasons, or one of the things that I've done for those who would like to cultivate this as well, to allow those things to show up, is I've gone and nurtured, honored, and cared for the things that are in my life that I love.
Oh.
See, going back to what we were talking about with everything having consciousness, if you have something in your life that you love and you treat it kindly, you polish your furniture, you polish your silver, or say with your car, you get it serviced regularly, you can get it cleaned and detailed, you take good care of it, offer it kindness. You're telling the universe, oh, you like these nice things. We'll give you more. What if that was how you lived?
That is amazing. I don't always think of everything that we do as a request, but in some ways, every action that you take is a request of one kind or another, of either
Absolutely.
a request of how you would like to be treated, a request for what kinds of things you would like to receive, a request for whether nicer things are showing up or whether things that are broken or destroyed are showing up. It always amazes me. There are a couple of people that if they borrow my things, I pretty much know that they're going to get broken, but not through anything that they've done that's intentionally mean. That's what things do in their possession. Things break down whenever they get in their possession. So it's interesting. Well, so you've got a call coming up, and it's called Letting Treasures Find You, right? That's the right name for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Having treasure find you.
Having treasure find you, because that's different than letting treasure find you. Having treasure find you is such an interesting bunch of words together.
Well,
so what are we doing on that?
Well, we're going to look at this for each and every one, and first of all, get people to develop a sense of what are the treasures they would like to have for them, because what it is for me and what it is for you can be so totally different things.
Right.
And then we're going to start exploring and asking for those things to show up and eliminating all of the places where unconsciously or not, we are destroying the pathways or obstructing the pathways that allow those things to just float in with ease.
Wow.
We're also going to look at creation and what it is to generate something in your life.
Okay. We're doing all this in 3 calls because I'm coming. I'm going to be on this series. I mean, I'm not facilitating it.
Awesome.
I'm going to be on this series, and I'm excited about it.
I know. I'm excited you are too. Well, it's going to be a lot of fun. And we're doing it in 3 installments because we're going to have a call and then a break for 2 weeks for people to use the information and see what they can create in their lives. And then another one, and then a break, and then another one to see what's occurred. Like,
so good.
It's amazing to me as well when I look at all of this, the treasures that I've had shown up in my life. the pace at which it's actually occurred is pretty amazing. Like, it wasn't really that many years ago that I didn't have anything. And now there's like pretty well everything that I've asked for so far is in my life.
Yeah.
Like you said with the pages that you were sort of collaging or scrapbooking, or, you know, making a kind of visual list of the things that you wanted, or and
Yeah. It was the
it
sense of
does
things.
show up.
I was looking for the
Yes.
sense of things. So everything that I looked at that gave me a sense, either I looked at it and was like, oh, I love that texture, I want to touch it and I want that to be part of my life, or that color is something that hits something for me, that it brings me a lot of pleasure. I want the pleasure and that of those kinds of colors. And I was looking at the materials that things were made out of, and the things that made me feel enthusiastic and pleased and feel more enjoyment in my body just seeing them, that they existed on the planet and that somebody had made them. So those were the things that I was like, that.
There's a quote that I read recently on a friend's Instagram feed from Daphne Guinness, and you actually remind me of Daphne Guinness a little bit. And she said, we need to stop polluting the world with meaningless things of no beauty. She said, we have the means to produce and support true and rare beauty. What if that was our priority?
Okay.
Enough crap.
This is so cool. And I get that something else, and I'm not for right now. This is for I want to ask questions about this on the series, but you have a way of finding places to look for stuff too that's really different. Like,
yeah, well, you got to follow your nose to where to go. So what I do is I go, okay, I'm looking for this. Where do I need to go to find it? And get out of your logical brain that tells you the sensible, straightforward place of where you'll find things, because sometimes that works, but sometimes the really rare and odd treasure is off the beaten track in a place where you didn't expect it. Or quite often, I'll ask for the thing and forget about the where or the when and just go about my day and my business. And if I get a bit of an inkling to turn down one particular arcade and go through past the shops in there, and things just jump out and go, hi. And how often do you take yourself off your normal routine track to places you wouldn't normally go? And that's where things are hiding in wait for you.
that is such a good point. Like, even just that, like, what kind of treasure looking, also for me, adventure is a treasure. These little adventures that we get to go on, where we get to see things and perceive things and receive things that we don't normally get to receive, that is also a treasure. Whether I end up with something like tangibly valuable out of it or not, the joy that discovering new places brings is also one of the treasures. And that doesn't happen by just following the path you
I
normally
went to Atlanta last year for a class that you hosted that I did with Right Voice for You, and one of the greatest treasures I took away from that was you.
Chris, thank you so much. I feel the same way. Like, I knew you were amazing.
Are you not another Oscar Wilde of my generation?
I am.
Well, the description I gave kind of fits you.
Oh, Chris, you know how to just make a girl feel all sorts of giggly inside.
Stop it now. Stop.
Stop it now. Oh, keep going. No, stop. So, where can they? Oh, I see that Ashley just put a link for how to get on that call. So so it is now.
Yes.
There's a register here now in the chat. So if you want to be on this series, which I don't know why you wouldn't want to, but if you want to get on there, there's a link in here now. So
yes,
what?
it's through Kajabi. So for those who've used Kajabi, that's the platform we're using for this series.
That's cool. So is there any last thing that you would care to mention that maybe I just didn't even think to ask you, that you're like, oh, well, you may want to know this one thing before we go?
Well, the most important thing, I think, is for everyone to get clear on what it is you would actually like to have. Go ask yourself, what would be fun for me to have in my life? Whether it was a person or a thing or a ring or a tree or whatever, a different car, and start asking for the things that would truly actually bring you joy.
Yeah. Well, and then one thing I just thought about, what do you perceive that there's a gift of having more people looking at something? Like you asking for something and somebody else being enthused about it with you, somebody being like, oh yeah, that'd be so cool. Is there an energy that adds to your life that makes finding treasure easier?
For sure. If I've done that a lot. I've gone, oh, I found this thing and it's coming up for sale and I really want to get it. And I'll show a friend and I'll say, would you throw some energy into this? Would you contribute to me having this? And, I've got some really remarkable people in my life and, they'll always go, for sure, let's make sure you get that. I want you to have that. And that's the other purpose of this series is to have, people going, cool, I'll contribute to you having whatever you want.
I'll always contribute to you having whatever you want.
Like I'm not that interested in porcelain myself. I love silver and glass and furniture. There's lots of things I collect and I'm interested in. Porcelain, I'm kind of like, but my husband loves it. And so much of it turns up in my life now for him. I'm the conduit for it to turn up so that it can get to where it wants to go. The great porcelain suppository of the universe. My darling husband.
That's funny. Where does
all
that China go?
Is that a misuse of that word? Where does it all end up? I don't know.
I love it so much. Okay, well, cool. I will let you go. It's so generous to have you on here and just chatting a little bit about creating and receiving and having more ease with everything. I just adore you so much, and I'm so grateful for what you bring to this topic because it really is so different.
Back at you, sugar. I'd talk to you about anything.
All right. See you and see everybody that showed up. See you guys soon too.
May 30th. Be there.
All right. I'll be there. May 30th.
Okay.
On my calendar.
All right. Bye.
Bye.